Hello, indie authors. It is episode 28 of the podcast, and it is October 16, 2019, as I record this. Main topic today is action steps. But first, the personal update. I have a new job, an added job, some part-time work to supplement my author services work and my book sales and my massage therapy income as well. So multiple streams of income. It's the way to do it in 2019. If you want to talk to me for 30 minutes and tell me what your challenges are in your author world, please schedule yourself an appointment with me on indieauthormentor.as.me and choose the interview call option. I am reading in fiction Tana French's book In the Woods. That's really cool. I'm totally enjoying her language and the development of characters. So I'm about a third of the way in, maybe half, and I'm really enjoying it. So I learned about her at the Willamette Writers conference in August, and that was the first time I'd heard her name, so I checked her out, and lots of people I have mentioned her to have said, oh yeah, I like Tana French, she's a great writer, so I'm happy that I've discovered her, so maybe you can give her a try too. In nonfiction, and this is going to be my recommendation later too, so heads up here, Monica Leonel's book, Prosperity for Writers, I am rereading. I just started it again this morning, and my goal is to have one of these podcast episodes be about the mindset around money and getting into that prosperity mindset, specifically for writers and authors. And so I'm doing a little bit of research. But it's a great book, and I highly recommend it. I planned for this week to be a sabbatical week for myself, but I didn't get my deadlines met last week, which is why there wasn't a podcast episode. I was trying valiantly to get everything else done so that this week could be a sabbatical and did not make it. So this week has been racing to deadlines and yeah. Sigh. Sabbaticals are important, y'all. But I will get one in soon, I hope. Another update for October, my focus was getting ready for the 20 Books to 50K conference that is in mid-November next month. So what I've been doing is I wrote the email sequence, a welcome email sequence for my new lead magnet. And I brainstormed and mind mapped a whole website, the pages on the new website. The new website is going to be just ValerieEsan.com. It's totally not up yet, so don't go there now. But that website's going to be for my signature author business strategy program that I'm going to launch next month. Fingers crossed. That program is called Focus and Finish. And it's an author strategy program that includes a customized author action plan for you, like in workbook form, as well as 6 months of coaching and accountability. The new website will also house the other author services that I provide. Patreon. I'd like to thank all my patrons for the podcast support that you give. I really appreciate that. And I would like to hear from you individually. Please send me a message through Patreon. You can download a Patreon app if that's your thing, if that makes it easier to get to the website. Shoot me a question or comment. I'll read it out on the podcast if you want. So I'd like to remind everybody else that this podcast is sponsored by my supporters at Patreon. For as low as $1 a month, you can get a shout out on the podcast, a monthly connections video where I'm just myself and I put it all out and I share something more personal usually than what I put out here on the podcast. All other benefit tiers include free coaching, free editing, free books. So go to patreon.com/Valerie Ihsan, IHSAN, and find what you're looking for. So yeah, the resource recommendation for this week is definitely Monica Linnell's book, Prosperity for Writers. Okay, I'm going to move on to the action steps for the main topic. I do want to apologize if you're watching this. My lighting in here is pretty bad today. It's really gray outside, and I've got lights on, and it's just not making a difference. So sorry if the video is a little bit dark. Okay, action steps. So, have you heard of the oh shit list? I make them frequently. Whenever I face a freak out moment of overwhelm or fatigue, I make one. And I really actually think that it is the most important step that you can take on your way to accomplishing your goals and dreams. And the reason why, think about it. So if you're upset about something, especially if you're mad about something, often that means you are facing an unmet need. So there's something in your life that some need you have or some value that you feel is really important to uphold in order to make you feel safe that is lacking in your life right now for whatever reason. Maybe it's only temporary, but maybe it is been going on a long time. Maybe you've been like swimming through this autopilot soup and you're just now recognizing that something's not quite right. Or maybe you know what's off and you're just, and you know it's untenable, but you just don't know what to do about it. So by writing down what's bothering you, several things happen. One is you slow your brain down enough that long enough for you to physically write out words on a piece of paper. We're all writers, so this is nothing new. So physically writing out what's going on or what's bothering you allows your brain to, how do I say this? Well, first of all, it just helps you breathe. And while you're breathing, you might be able to see some parts of the problem that you didn't see before because you're slowing down long enough to write it out. It helps you see other parts of the problem. It helps you reorganize in your brain your thoughts, your beliefs. Maybe you start to write something down and you realize, no, that's not actually what's bothering me about this. What's really bothering me about this is X. And often we can't get to that place until we write it down, slow down and write it down enough. Two, cool thing about writing it down is that it's out of your head. And this is particularly helpful if what you are vomiting on the page is a slew of tasks that you need to get done before you go to the conference next month. Three, there's always, sometimes it allows you or someone else that you've trusted to read this list to see that some of the things on the list don't actually need to be there. They're not really that important. Or maybe they are important, but it's not important that you do them. So you can pass them on to somebody else. Or maybe you decide to postpone it for 3 months till next quarter or next year. Who knows? Or maybe you decide that your priorities are just in a different place and you feel like a pivot is in order and you're not going to do it at all. You can just cross it off your list totally. So unless you take the time to write these things down, maybe you won't come to that conclusion. So what if you aren't a list maker or a list lover like me? Why don't you have somebody else write it for you? Get a business colleague, somebody that's in your accountability group maybe, or a business BFF, or just a close friend, one that understands your need to get things straight, if not in your head, then on paper. And make an appointment with them to talk to them with the understanding that they'll take notes. So you get together, have a tasty beverage, be in a quiet place or a noisy coffee shop, whichever you prefer, and just talk about all the things that are stressing you out, all the things that are overwhelming you, all the things that you're worried about. Maybe you're alarmed. Maybe you're worried that you're really actually closer to burnout than you thought you were, or maybe that's your fear. So by talking this out to someone else and having them take notes on what you're saying, they'll either come up with a list for you or just take notes on themes that they're hearing from you. And maybe they can identify different types of things that you are talking about falling into certain categories, and that they can then repeat that back to you so that you have more clarity about where you are as well. If you don't have this person in your life, feel free to schedule yourself one of those free interview calls, and I'll take notes for you. And also, unrelated but not unrelated at all, please remember to spend some time doing self-care. You need to have, it's crazy and exhausting out there a lot of times, and you deserve to take time for yourself and recenter and reground. It's really important, and you totally deserve it. I know it was a short podcast episode today, but thank you for listening. And if you are finding these podcast episodes useful or valuable to you, please consider subscribing to the podcast or telling somebody else about it or becoming a patron of me today. So until next time, be well, happy writing, happy publishing, and take that first action step today.